is the 2023 draft proposal, including the town of Palmyra. Based on the numbers that have been talked about, it's the same thing that we released in closed session, we're releasing it in open session. And again, it's the same numbers that were in that budget, but it's the different look that I've done the same as the other budget. So I will hand that out as well.
So I am bringing this forward so everybody can look at the numbers and see what we looked at. And
if anybody did not get copies of this, or there aren't enough copies, if you contact the chief, I'm sure that he will email and provide them to you.
Or Brian's.
Yeah,
I do have some extra copies of both of the budgets that I did bring with. A few, but not enough. Didn't know if everyone here would be in attendance, so if you want to look on, share, this is with the town of Palmyra, okay, if you want to pass those around. And this one is the Eagle standalone budget. I know you've been waiting for one of those, Jeff.
Thank you.
One point of clarification, Scott, and you might touch on this, I don't know, but from the informational meeting, and then we talked a little bit at the village board meeting, it was stated a potential savings for each municipality with contracting with the town of Palmyra. That savings is not a savings from this year, what we're paying.
Correct.
The savings would be what we would pay next year without the town of Palmyra. I think some people might have the concept that that savings means us three municipalities sitting up here now would pay less than we did this year. That's not the case.
And kind of following up on Rich's comment, you know, there were a number of comments that were over budget, and I, as a board member, take some responsibility for that, because in the final days of the budget preparation for the district, we did give raises to firefighters and other personnel that were not in that original budget number that went out. So that accounts for a considerable chunk of the money that is in there. It wasn't budget, the raises weren't budgeted, we approved them, and they are being paid.
I do have a question on that.
That explains what you just talked about.
We talked a little bit at the village budget workshop. Scott said at this meeting last month, he also said at our meeting at the village, that there's been 16,000 hours this year for paid on call and part-time so far?
No, that was total from the 2021 standalone departments, adding up the part-time hour, adding up all of the hours between the two of them, is that they added together to be 16,000 hours between the two departments. That was from the 2021 hours, and that's how that was projected, or that $2 an hour with the 16,000 hours of combined time.
So we say there was 16,000 hours, but our budget budgeted for 100 hours a week for part-time, that's 5,000 hours. Paid on call is going to be less than that because it's only a few hours. So let's say, easy math, paid on call, let's go 3,000. That's 8,000 hours. We know there's 16,000 hours, but we budgeted for 8,000.
Those 16,000 hours, that's partly paid on call.
Yeah.
And
Paid on call was budgeted at 100 hours a week. 100 hours a week is 5,200 hours in a year. And your part-time is going to be more hours than your paid on call, correct? Historically?
They are, and I apologize. I'm trying to answer Rich's questions.
I can wait till you're
at the
done.
same time. So just give me 1 second, Rich, please. So this is, yeah, the second one I handed you, I apologize. I grabbed off the wrong stuff. The second one I'm handing out is with the town of Palmyra comparison.
Thank you.
Again, this will answer that first question that Rich asked about, during some of the budget talks, there was some confusion as to the overall 6% savings versus the with Palmyra. So it's, did I give you one of the with Palmyra? Yeah, there's with that one. Okay.
Scott, just for informational purposes, that's why I wanted both budgets out, you know, for everybody to view. There's this other handout sheets that Scott, I don't know if you have any of these extras, Scott?
I have a couple of those, I didn't print as many of those of
There's, what it is, it's a budget comparison with the town of Palmyra and without. It's kind of a Reader's
broken down by
Digest.
each municipality, if you can kind of share.
So, my belief is, our goal is that at least to get all of the information out there for everybody to read, to digest, to take it home, and the discussion will continue. So, just that way,
This is my
everybody
copy,
has
sorry.
the same information. Before, we could not because it was a closed session. Scott, I'll let you get organized there.
Please, thank you. Okay, Rich, I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I'm just having a hard time accepting that $2 an hour is why we're blowing our budget up. We budgeted for 100 hours a week, 16,000 hours in a year. It's 3 times more of what we budgeted. Granted, that includes paid on call, but like I said, historically paid on call is less than part-time. Part-time, the people on the station more than they are out on the call. If you're on a call for 3 hours for a long call for one night, you got someone on the station for 8 hours. I honestly, I don't even know what we staff anymore. We used to staff for 12 hours. Do we still staff 12 hours for part-timers?
10 hours.
10.
Yeah, from 7 to 5 is our daytime staffing. So, the typical staffing that we have are 3 people at Eagle and 2 people in North Prairie. There are days when we only have 1 in North Prairie, there are days that we only have 2 in Eagle. There are days that we do have 4 in Eagle, because we do have fire inspections. And so our inspector comes in, we don't have a lot of our part-timers who are inspectors anymore. So we do sometimes bring in 1 person just to go out and do inspections. We have about approximately 310 inspections to do every 6 months. And it's a lot of time to do for 1 person in particular. And so one of our part-timers does come in and does inspections. So the scheduling varies depending on availability of all of our part-timers right now. And typical staffing is 3 at Eagle, including me, and 2 in North Prairie. That's our typical staffing.
That's not gonna be 16,000 hours. If you have 3 10-hour days, that's 50 hours. That's 150 hours a week for part-time.
With
150 times 52 weeks, 7,800 hours. I don't think we have 8,200 hours of part-time call, of paid on call. Which, from a budgetary aspect, if we do have 16,000 hours, why are we budgeting for 150 hours a week?
Well, Rich, why don't you
$16,000
have the chief look that up, because I don't think he probably has all the paper in front of him to do that. And
16,000 hours for 52 weeks is 307 hours a week.
Chief, you can,
I'm looking for my WRS sheet, which is in my packet, that was in my packet, that was handed to me halfway through the meeting, and now I don't know what I did with it. So I'm trying to find that right now.
give me a couple minutes, just take a breather.
Because I just said, like, I think Mr. Taylor Hines back there said I had 3 reams of paper here. As of the last payroll in August, we had total with paid on call and part-time hours, 10,736 hours.
What was it?
As of our last payroll with part-time and paid on call hours, but that also, because it's WRS, it also includes the 2 full-timers. Yep, it does, it includes the 2 full-timers.
Part-time and paid on call, as of tonight's report, is 8,128 hours. I took payroll for paid on call and part-time, divided by 18 for an average wage. I don't know, maybe I'm off on that.
I use an average wage too of 18.
All right,
That's what I
so
use.
based off of 18 hours, to date, you are 8,128 hours for both of them combined.
Can you give me that number one more time, as long as you did that calculation?
8,128.
Okay.
That's almost through 8 out of 12 months. So at the end of the year, it's not gonna be 16. If it was June, I'd say, yeah, you're on track for 16. But my question is, if it's 16,000 hours for the year, why are we budgeting 150 hours? I do not want to increase the budget. I already had a hard time at our village budget workshop of trying to accommodate the increase. I don't want to increase it more, but I don't want to be short on our payroll again next year. $307 hours, if you want to say 2/3, 1/3 for paid on call to part-time, 10-hour shifts. Go on a call, let's say the call's 2 hours, if there's 2-3 people, 2/3, 1/3, probably pretty close. Take 1/3 off of that, 300 hours, it's still 200 hours a week. We're budgeting 150 hours. We won't be short in June, but we'll be short probably by October. I'm taking a beating because we screwed up last year, I don't want it 2 years in a row.
I can see where, at one point, Scott, you need to probably, recalculate this. I don't know what you do in a quick, I don't know if you have all the material.
I don't have all of it with me here tonight.
That's my point.
Tonight is information gathering, so
Well, my information, you better bump payroll up with the current process.
So that's part-time,
Part-time and paid on call.
so you have to revisit that, Scott.
I will look at it.
So, okay. Does the board have anything else on this, all the information that you received? I'm gonna reach out to town residents that there are the 2 budgets. Here, some people have them, some people don't. And then these 2 easy read comparisons, that there will be extra copies at our town hall. I'll have Marcia make copies for people that don't have them, that they can get them or possibly email them. I don't want to overwhelm her. She's doing a great job and she's new, but I can at least provide copies for town residents so they have complete. This is for informational purposes, so you can look at it, read it, digest it, poke holes in it, do whatever you want. But that's my offer to town of Eagle residents. And I don't know if the other 2 municipalities want to do that.
So we can do that in North Prairie without a problem. Also, you have to remember that this is an accurate date as you're revising it.
Correct. That's as of
So
today.
we can put them out, but it's an accurate date.
From a budgetary aspect, Scott, I'm also concerned you didn't bump fuel for the fire up enough. You bumped it up from 5,075. We're already at 5,000 this year. We're at a pace to be close to 8. And rumor has it, fuel costs might be going back up. I'm not so sure 75. Your ambo's kind of on track, and you bump that up 1,000, so I think you'll be all right there, but for your fire, I think that might,
I did take into consideration on that, and I know it's a small amount, but that 726 is about 17% of our fuel budget for the fire part of it. So I kind of took that into consideration, took that off, because that's getting reimbursed by the customer.
and hopefully you don't have any major fires like that next
Yeah.
year.
Right, so I did take that into consideration at the $7,500 mark, but I can certainly,
You take the 700 out, then you're probably close to what you're
we should be
on
pretty
pace for
much on
today,
pace without that, so.
as long as the costs don't go up too much.
Anything else from the board?
Any places you can trim it? You were at our meeting, 16,000.
I was.
Increase.
Yep.
I'm gonna guess you got the feeling that's probably not gonna fly.
Well, and that's kind of why I also did that, the sheet with all the breakdowns of where we're at compared to past years. And I will, just so everybody knows, I will email that out to all of the municipal clerks, so they can get that out to all the board members as well for discussions and to look at, so all the board members will receive that through an email. But that's kind of why I did that, and, you know, looking at the budget for the municipalities, I was at the Village of Eagle budget meeting. North Prairie has not had one yet, which I will be in attendance of, and I know the town has one, but I was at a different meeting for that, so. And there is concern, because of some of the wage increases, not raises necessarily, it's a 3% across the board for all paid on call and full-time and part-time employees. The staffing, I will definitely look at what we're talking about and recalculate some of that and get those calculations in. We're kind of going through this sheet a little bit. You know, the Village of Eagle, there was a discussion about, you know, we're doing this to save money, this district, and with not even taking into consideration Palmyra, okay? We did this to save money. And just looking at the overall for the breakdown of the Village of Eagle, we are saving money by doing this, because where we were in 2021 as Eagle Fire at a total budget of $117,761 for the Village of Eagle, you know, we're at $120,908, which is only after the savings last year. The first year, everybody got a savings, okay? The first year of the district in 2022, everybody got a savings. From there, costs are gonna go up. And so for the Village of Eagle, it shows a 6.91% increase, but really when you look at it from where it was in 2022, it's a 3% increase, or 2021, I'm sorry, the 117, it's a 3% increase over 2 years. And that's where the savings comes in, because of the way that the percentages are, 21%, 42%, 37%. It is, the way that the percentages are, is that with the increases, is that everybody's absorbing it. All three municipalities are absorbing that increase. And so the increases aren't as much to, and with the savings from the Eagle building of the $8,000, because we put that into the budget, into the overall budget now, you know, it is an increase to the Village of Eagle. It's an increase to the town of Eagle. It's an increase to the Village of North Prairie for these, but we're still looking at, we're doing better than we would have as standalone departments. And so as a district, we are increasing less than we would have during being standalone, okay? And that was just the Village of Eagle one. And that's why I did these comparisons, for everyone to kind of look back at where we were and where we are now and where we're going for 2023. You know, with some of the increases because of the payroll, because of a lot of that is payroll, because of the fuel, because of different things, I was able to take out some expenditures, like we did overestimate on insurance. So I was able to reduce some of those insurance costs. it didn't impact as much as the payroll is impacting the increase. But radios, we will have the one radio that we're going to purchase this year. But next year, we're not gonna buy any radios. And so we took almost $9,000 out of the budget in the radio expense to make up some of that money. But again, the reductions that we did do or that we're presenting aren't as much as the increases because of some of the payroll and other things. But, and I know, all of the boards are, can you pinch it more, can you pinch it more? Can certainly take a look at it. Where else we can just cut back a little bit here and a little bit there. And like last year's budget, flea home, just make sure that there aren't any more. Or that maybe there's one that we can cut back a little bit.
Here's my dilemma with this. I don't think we're gonna be able to cut that much. If you can, we'll take it, because a 16% increase from last year to this year, for all the municipalities, I think is gonna be hard in these times. I know it will for the village of Eagle, and financially, we're in okay shape. Town of Eagle, I've been to a lot of your meetings. You guys are struggling to balance. I think it's gonna be even more difficult for you. We're looking at 16,000. You're looking at 32,000. It's gonna be even harder. So, from the savings aspect of the merger, I'll go back on the record of, when this first happened, Town of Eagle, you saw savings. Village of North Prairie, you saw huge savings. Village of Eagle, we got screwed. We didn't have the savings. Ours actually went up the first time. The first draft, we went up like 3%. It's like, hey, how can they save so much and we're going up? Once we did percentages that we could agree to for our board, yeah, now we see a little bit of a savings. So I do think the municipalities are trying to make it more equitable. But to say this is an increase, I view this different. I don't believe this is an increase in the budget. I think last year we presented a budget to sell this. This year we're paying the price because this is the budget we should have presented last year. This is the cost of this department. Our department's not costing us 16% more this year than it did last year, because we weren't here last year. We sold this with a budget that failed. That's on this board. That, for all the municipalities, I apologize for that. To say this is an increase, where our savings are, I think we're mathematically holding an even line. Your budget you're presenting for next year is really close to what we're going to be spending this year. We're holding an even line. I don't consider this a 16% increase. I think this is close to 0% increase. It's just more accurate than it was last year.
And last year, when we were talking, because we were all involved in talking with the budget, yes, I created it and presented it, and we talked about it, we massaged it. And with putting this district together, every one of the board members and myself said, you know what, the first year is as guesstimate as we can, right?
It's a crap shot. We all knew they were going to be.
We knew it was a crap shot, but we modified that crap shot to solid.
I know, I'm sorry. But what we did say, we were going to have growing pains, and every year is going to be a possible lesson.
Yeah, and our growing pains this year is explaining to the public why our budget's so small. We massaged it to sell it. We made the merger happen because we were able to say financially, here's what we're doing, and we were wrong. Do I still think the merger's a good idea? Absolutely. I said even when we were talking before, village, we're not seeing a big increase, but for staffing and for capital, I was still for it. We didn't have the financial gain you guys did. And if that was a sell, it became easier with the financial numbers. But I stand firm that this is the budget we should have been presenting last year. This year should have been 0.1% increase, not 16. This is what we should have done last year.
Okay. All right, again, this is informational, so if everybody, if you can get a hold of some copies and research it and take it for whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now we'll We'll go on to the discussion action regarding approval of Western Lakes intercept agreement. Chief, are you ready?